Stand by. We've had some technical difficulties, but I think we figured it out now. Now I can see you. You're crystal clear now, Greg.
Yeah, we had Greg the robot 5 minutes ago. I think we're in a better place now.
So much better.
And it would make sense because, you know, this tech development's happening so fast. I was wondering if you're AI anyways.
Yeah. Oh, no.
Yes.
Oh, no.
Yeah, exactly. I totally missed it.
Oh, no. All right. We'll
Maybe
we'll
it
slow
wasn't
down.
the old computer.
Yeah, maybe it wasn't. Maybe it's the internet, I guess. There's a delay bouncing off Elon's satellite there or something.
For the third time, welcome to the X-Foils podcast. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Third time's the charm. Crazy Hawaii Wi-Fi. I don't know what.
It's all good.
Doesn't matter. This is what happens when you have an emergency podcast. You got to fight through the challenges to get the information we need to the viewers.
That's true. Yeah, me and Walt and everybody has seen you throw out this new Parawing double skin, and it's blowing up our chats and the internet because everyone's just like, what's going on? What is this? Did we need this? Yes, we do want this. I guess time will tell again, but I just wanted to get some feedback from you of what the design brief was, how you came onto this. I saw what it looks like online, but it's just, it's hard to tell. We don't have it in our hands. So we're leaving it up to you, Greg, to kind of fill us in. And I know the listeners and the viewers can go on your website, and you've actually put out a lot of good information on there, which everybody appreciates. But it's always good to hear it, straight from Greg, if we could.
Yeah, absolutely. So you mentioned design brief. I'm just always exploring for sure. The idea of a double skin isn't really a new thing for me or in total. They're out there. I think the first one I saw was maybe a gong, and there's a 777, and I mean that sort of style of kite, category of kite has been around forever. And for me, there was things blocking it, like a closed trailing edge and water getting in there and not being able to water relaunch. And it is obvious, but I guess thinking about it more, the reason it wasn't the initial Parawing choice was playing with them early on, maybe even before single skins. I just wasn't getting the power out of them. And since it was such a weird idea, weird thing I was exploring at the start, there was no technique. There was, boards, foils. How's this whole thing going to work? Is this even doable? And the nature of double skins, in my experience, is that they perform best at a way lower angle of attack, sheeted out, and ridden bigger, ridden more powered up, and which sounds misleading to me because it's a different experience at that power delivery. But at any rate, I couldn't get up on foil with them. It wasn't to go. The single skin, having more grunt in a sense, sort of this downwind pull, was when I started being like, okay, actually now I can. This weirdo idea is starting to work. I can get up on foil. It's starting to happen. I mean, there's sled kites and inflatable kites, and everything was in the mix from the beginning. It's just for in my development process, at least, it needed to get to a certain level of proficiency. Maybe I needed to get dialed enough to a point where I was starting to make them work, and that it came back into the fold. So it's always sort of been there. Yeah.
I mean, Walt mentioned it the first time.
The first time we tried the interview.
Yeah, it was that. I mean, this is almost a year now, so we're all getting better. We have a lot more technique. People know what they want to use it for, maybe, right? So, maybe it makes sense. Do you think it's more complicated to use for a beginner, or?
Interesting question, and I don't think we know enough yet. It on my side, at least, it hasn't gone in enough different people's hands. We're trying to work on stuff and not make a lot of noise about it. So even just yesterday, for example, when we started photo shooting, we brought a couple sort of board riding Maui insiders into the fold to check it out first. Super interesting to see how different rates of adoption, different rates of people figuring it out. We just basically put it in their hands, shoved the camera in their face, and said, "Go," to see what would happen. And the feedback from that was like, "Oh, here's what I had to do to figure it out." Things like that. One thing that came out of that is one of the riders, waiting for their size, waiting to run out, took some time to fly it on the beach, and I was like, "Oh, actually, that was super useful." Because its handling differences, experiencing that and unlocking that was really useful to do on some ground handling, if you will, before going on the water. It's sort of like, the handling is the opposite. A single skin, you're going to sheet in for power. This one, yes, to some degree, but if you sheet in further, you're gonna start diminishing power instead of increasing it. So it's like your muscle memory of like how to generate power. Needs adjustment. And so the idea of somebody coming to it from the first time where they don't have that muscle memory, yesterday at the beach, ran into some people that like windsurfers. They were just like, "Oh, we're not wingers, we're not kiters, but we're here on the beach. What is that thing?" And the first thing I do, no explanation, just put it in their hands, like, "Here, try it." And I feel like they're coming to it with like no habits already, and so they could just work it out, figure it out. So I don't think it's harder, it's just different.
Yeah. Well, I mean, every Parawing's a little bit different, right? So there's always some kind of adjustments to be made, or if it's intuitive or not, or if they're loaded on the front, or if they stall easily. So I think, yeah, there's always a little bit of that. I saw the video you posted this morning of Elliot, that he was like, "Well, I don't know if this is the shuttle killer," right? And I think that's the cool thing about parawinging now, is that it's been around for a little bit longer now, and people are realizing that they really do want to ride these things all the way upwind, and it's becoming easier, and they don't need to jump in a car. Sailing them around is fun, and then doing their downwinders, right? So it makes sense for something like I'm looking for performance, right, in the high end. I want to go as upwind as I can, feel like I'm as fast as I can on something that I feel like is performing like a sail, So it when I saw it, I'm like, that makes sense. That it feels like a little bit of an evolution of performance.
So, Greg, when you put this double skin together, I mean, where does this change the performance range, right? I think a lot of having this double skin, obviously, you have a better airfoil, so we're going to have a better range and a better top end. What does that look like? Because I mean, if we look at the standard Kana'as, let's say it's like a 10 mile an hour or 10 knot range. Does this push past that? And how does it feel on the top end? Like, what are the feel differences that you've experienced so far with it for those of us who won't have a chance to get it in our hands for a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of just a completely different animal. Even where to begin breaking that down, you want to size up at least one size, maybe two sizes, a meter and a half bigger. It flies at a completely different angle of attack. It's, where on a single skin, I'll ride almost always, I'll pick as small a size as I can get up on foil with, because once I get up, I want it to feel as like kind of light and nice and in my hands as possible. And so the experience is kind of like, gosh, I hope the wind doesn't change too much. I hope I'm in the sweet spot. Oh, the wind just dropped. I better not make a mistake and fall off foil. I won't be able to get up. Like, it's just this kind of thing where the different flight nature of this one, I want to ride it bigger. When a gust comes, it's not like a, oh no experience, like, hold on. It actually feels better. It's like, oh yeah, give me more. At which, like, I'm the last rider to for that to be a natural experience for. I was the guy, like, on inflatable wings. I'd be out there on my 2.2 when wingers are out there on 4s and 5s, and I'm like, I guess they want something more physical. They want that pull. They want to feel some power. I just want something that's as light and nice in my hands as possible. And even riding this in a bigger size and more powered up, I said before, it's kind of misleading. When a gust hits it, or when the power gets up, it just shoots further and further forward in the window. It's just like this super tight sports car. Like, the more you rev it out, the faster you drive it. Like, that tight suspension is like, yeah, feels good. So it's crazy. I mean, the way you described your riding, like you just want to blast upwind, you just want to go as fast as possible. That's for sure where this is at, which is not to in any way hate on single skins. When I go back to single skins now, it just blows my mind how crazy small and compact they are. I'm just like, oh, this is such a joy that they just pack up to nothing. So I was in the gorge pretty recently, and it's such a strong downwind scene there. Like there more so than anywhere else I've been with a Parawing, and people are just like getting up, packing it away, and going. Like for that kind of thing, for sure, the single skins like put it away.
So do you want to talk about your bar design a little bit? Obviously, it's an evolution from what you were doing on your single skins. Yeah, do you want to just kind of talk us through what's happening there?
Because there's no yoke, right, on this one?
No. So the yoke coming from the first generation to second generation of the single skins was to control different parts of the canopy at different angles of attack. It was a stability aid solved so that it just required less piloting. You know, I was going to say a bigger sweet spot, but like almost threw it out completely. Like you couldn't make a mistake. You couldn't sheet it out too much. It controlled that. The double skin doesn't have that because it's just not needed. The wing is happy to go as low an angle of attack as you want to put it. So A, B's, and C's, the whole thing, just, well, the A's are fixed, but the B's and C's, completely drop them out, let it go as far as possible. There's no influence on stability. The stability comes from the double surface. So like that air comes in the leading edge, creates high pressure on the inside. Profile on the upper side creates the lift, and like it can go to a zero angle attack, if you will. I mean, I don't know if that's the correct terminology, but it can go all completely sheeted out, and it's still going to drive itself forward.
Yeah.
Which is kind of one of the crazy things about it too. A single skin, if you're trimmed to just a perfect angle of attack, it's flying nicely forward in the window. But sheet in more than that, it's going to drop back. Sheet out completely, and it's going to drop back. So they're kind of doing this in the window, depending on how you trim and the gusts and whatnot. This just flies forward. Like sheeted out completely, it's like, yeah, great. Sheeted in more, it's like kind of in the same spot. You sheeted in more than that, yes, you'll drop it back for sure, but it's got a big range of just flying forward.
I mean, I guess because the canopy keeps its shape from the cells being inflated versus a single skin is like, you know, the profile can go so deep and it like, you know, it catches so much wind.
And if you get it too far into the window,
it's accelerate forward.
Yeah, if you get it too far in the window, the back edges, the C lines are going to collapse, right? And then you're going to get that fluttering. Whereas this this just fills, right? Like you pull it further into the window, and the cells will just stay full. The shape stays consistent.
Yeah. So you said earlier on that there have been double skins, and then they've gone back to a single skin. And I saw that yours, because I fly foil kites a lot as well when I kite foil. And yeah, I was talking to Walt that all the trailing edge, it's all closed, right? They're all closed cells. And this thing, they're like, I looked at the video, it looks like they're all, you know, these cells, these tubes that go from front to back, and it's all opened up in the back. And I was surprised that it just keeps its shape so well with all that air spilling out the back. I guess because it's always accelerating, or I don't even know how it works, how that makes sense, how stable it looks with all this
creating
cells
like
being
tension on the back end, where the exit on the back end smaller than the front, I assume.
Yeah. I mean, in the end, I think that's it. For me, like, everything is so trial and error. Everything is such a process of just like questioning the norms, like going all the way back to my kite. Like, do we need struts? I don't know. Let's rip the struts off and see what happens. So, you know, this was sort of like, I don't know. Let's just cut the back off and see if let's take a little off. Let's take a little bit more off and just keep going to find a point. We're like,
So
my experience.
You went riding around with a pair of scissors in your pouch, and you're just like, one more, just start cutting the trailing edge back.
More on the beach and then to the water, but yeah, not on the water with scissors. With scissors, don't go foiling with scissors, but yeah.
No, that'd be a bad idea. Yeah, good point, Greg.
So as far as overall shape and stuff, though, is this sticking to pretty much the similar aspect ratio that your Kana'a is, or your Ka'a? Is that kind of what we can expect, or have you changed the aspect ratio dramatically on this compared to your other wings, the other single skins?
Great question. This is exactly the Kana'a. So just to control variables and development of this and try to, isolate things and what's doing what. It's like, okay, we know exactly how that's working. Let's, as a starting point, look at the exact same line length, the exact same bridling, and just put a double surface on and work from there. In the end, as we touched on, the bar change. Also, we adjusted the line lengths and arc shape and some different things. On the line specifically, we went a little bit longer. We went back to the original Maliko, especially going to lighter wind places. People were like, "Oh man, the low end that gave us was so good." The more open arc shape that allows, this double surface not lending itself to that like immediate pack and deploy thing already. We're like, okay, we'll blend more overall flight opportunity than stow opportunity. The stow and deploy on the double skin's a pretty different animal too. On the deploy side, single skins just poof, they're out. Like it's such a parachute. It's so fast and immediate, which is cool. Well, cool and not. It was what I was used to, and so working on these double skins, at first I was kind of missing that. I'm like, oh man, like how do I engineer that back into it? Now that I've spent so much time on it, and that's what I'm accustomed to, I go back to single skins, and it's almost for me a little bit alarming. Like, whoa, that was so fast. Like, am I going to catch a finger or like? So not necessarily better or worse, but just what you're used to. It's different. This, as I think it was in so much working on these that I was adjusting my technique, and then I'm like, oh, this actually works better for me on single skins as well. But I slide up those front lines and I hold the wing out on both single and double skins, but especially on the double skin, if you do that, and then you can kind of just let half of it go, let a wingtip open, and it just kind of like flies out of your hand. It's not this open.
For the redeploy, you mean?
For the deploy.
Like you grab the bar and you find the front lines and you slide your hands up to them and you grab the leading edge, and then that's how you're doing it, right?
Yeah, because you're going to have to reinflate cell by cell basically to get it to fly again, right? Like each one of those cells has to capture wind, reform, and then now you're going to have your canopy shape, which obviously is going to take longer than a parachute throwing it back out. Also, probably more intention in how you relaunch.
Yes to all of that, but certainly not to the extent of so many double surface kites, paragliders, this and that. Like you almost put them up and you have to shake and wait for the thing to fill. It's not that kind of thing at all. It's more like Speedwing inspired. It's rapid. It's fully open. The opening is serious, so it really has quick fill in mind. Yeah, and you did touch on like the geometry of the opening size versus the closing size and creating that pressure. So it's a relationship.
So you want to talk us through a couple things. One, what are your feels different? I mean, just for us to kind of understand for the viewers out there who aren't going to have a chance to get their hands on this right away on the Takeoff.
One question at a time, okay? No triple questions in a question.
I get a double question. It's just
okay, double question.
Double's fair. I'm not going to triple it. Okay, so
thanks, Joe. Because you see me locked down, you're all like,
yeah, because
let's just answer that one first.
It's because when I see Greg, he's like, okay, they asked me a question. I was like, let me touch on this, and then you're like, what'd you ask me again?
I have so many questions. Okay, so what did I ask him? No, I'm just kidding. All right, so what is the feels difference for your Takeoff in comparison? We know in general from our last podcast, you ride a 90-liter board. You like to have a little more board under you so you can be getting up on the smallest parawing possible. I think this is something we all kind of start understanding as we upwind parawing more, is that, you often want to be on a smaller size wing than you need to get off the water, especially if you're on like a semi-sinker, like on a 60-liter. I know if I went up 20 liters, I could probably easily go down a size of my parawing, which is going to give me more top end and allow me to sail better. So I know that's how you kind of work. So comparing that to whatever ka'a or kana'a you would be using, obviously, say you're on the 3 meter, you'd be up to the 3.6. It sounds like from what you've described with the new double skin. But yeah, how does that feel different in the Takeoff?
Well, so there's a board size component to that and a wing size component to that. To talk about the wing size first, 3.0 to 3.6 is maybe what you said. Yesterday, for example, on Maui, the conditions, I would have thrown up like a 2.9 or a 3.2. in a single skin, and the sweet size, was a 4.5. So it's seriously bigger. Big eyes like that, but I feel like that's a huge point because when I was putting it in people's hands, like, okay, I'm gonna start you on a 4.5, they were all like, okay, because you're saying so. And then the debrief after the session, I'm like, did you feel like you should have been on a smaller wing? They're like, yeah, kind of. I'm like, but were you overpowered? No. Were you even like a little overpowered? No. Like, you weren't wearing a harness. Would you have hooked in? No. So it's like, okay, well, why do you think you would have wanted a smaller size? So it's dramatically bigger.
It's good that we're having this conversation because my thought is always I want to be on the smallest parawing possible. Right. So this is, I'm trying to think now you're changing everything on us. Like now I want to be on the biggest parawing I can be possible.
Well, if the range is so big, you have all the top end in the world, but now you have this bigger sail that can get you up in a more varied starting conditions. As long as it handles well, I think that we've now got one tool that does the job of, 2 or 3, right?
Yeah. I mean, the other day shooting it, just for giggles, we put every size on the water at the same time, from 3.1 to 6, 3.1 to 6.1, 6.1, 6.2. But anyway, from the smallest to the biggest, all out there. And I'm like, okay, I'll take one for the team. I was the guy on the 6, not the biggest guy, but on the biggest wing. And I was completely sheeted out. Would I have preferred to have been on a 4.5 or 3.8? Yeah, that would have been sweet, totally rideable. And if I wanted to race upwind, 6 would have been a reasonable choice. Hook in and go and do it. It wasn't like riding a 6 meter in that much wind is more comfortable than if I'd been on a 4 or 5 meter single skin. So
Wild.
Yeah, different thing. Now
because we start talking about building all that apparent wind, right? Like now you're building all of this power in the sail and having something that's got a better wing shape to it that can handle that speed and still just give you a more consistent lift makes a ton of sense. I mean, I was talking to Dylan about it the other day. I went out sailing and I was definitely overpowered on the 3.6, but now that I'm getting tuned in, I was able to really lock in with it, and having that extra power completely changes your sailing angles, right? Like you can really charge up wind when you're fully loaded as long as you can handle it.
And you're trimming it, and you don't mind the physical feel, especially if you hook in. Like
hooked in, yes.
It's crazy as these like sports emerge and evolve, and like what we come to accept as normal as the riders. Like, oh sure, of course it's gonna pull like crazy. Of course I'm gonna ride a harness. Like, I don't know. It seems awesome to be continually questioning that. Like, yeah, but I didn't wear a harness with an inflatable wing. Why? Like, just wasn't a harness guy. Like, but I'm going to become one now. Like, we started rolling out hooks and harness line solutions following the first generation because that's how people were using them. And it's like, okay, well, like we want to make it as good an experience as possible. But like already I was like, that's kind of a Band-Aid on a problem. Like, fix the problem. Like, don't just layer on top of get to the core of, well, what was it about an inflatable wing that made it so comfortable? Not that the double surface is exactly that. Its flight character is different. An inflatable wing, you sheet it out, it flags. There's a drag component. It flies, it moves back in the window. How much does it move back? Minimizing that so that we could still tack and do different things, but it's not generating lift. The double skin, you completely park it. It is still generating lift, but it's moving forward. It's not moving back. So it doesn't exactly relate to inflatable wings or single skins. It's kind of this different sport. I mean, one way to maybe even look at it is like, how much adjustment did we need to make coming from inflatable wings to single skins? If you look at going from singles to a double skin in that same way, like one person got off the water yesterday. He's like, I've been power winging since day one. He's consistently been, anytime Board Riding Maui puts out a new product, he's the first order every time. He's a rad guy. So he was the first order on a Paia. He shows up. I met him at the beach yesterday. I'm like, yeah, let's get you dialed in. Go out there. And after he rode, he's like, shocking. He's like, I didn't think I was starting over. I'm like, what? I'm like, good feedback. Like, yet another rider here like jumped on it figured it out pretty quickly. Just came back all smiles. Like different people adjust at different rates.
So kind of back to the question about how the Takeoff feels. So I mean, if I think about a single skin, right? I'm on the board. I'm up in my stance. I'm either on my knees and got to my feet. And I'm kind of like, I was talking to Mickey the other day, and it's kind of like fishing, right? You're out there, you're kind of jiggling the lure, you're waiting for that bite, and when you feel that bite, you're pulling in, and you're taking that moment of power as your moment to kind of bring the board off the water a little bit and get yourself either some little taps or a glide, and depending on how comfortable you are, maybe you're yarding in on that sail hard, maybe you're just kind of lightly tapping it and bringing yourself up. Does it have that same ability, or is this kind of set it in the window, let the board speed build, and then you're kind of just slowly bringing the board off like a gradual takeoff, or are you able to kind of wait for those gusts or that peak wind and really feel some power in that thing to drag yourself up?
Nice, great question. Yeah, thanks for circling back to boards. So on your description of the single skin, how many liters is that?
Well, I'm always on a 60 liter, so
yeah.
So it's semi-sinker. You know, I'm under the water 6 inches or something before I can get it on plane. Right? It's not floating me.
Totally. So I'll just and I think I would describe a 60 liter the same way for me. The 90 liter, I'll just stand up on it, even if it's not pulling, and I'll wait for a little bit of energy in the water, ideally timed with a little bit of puff in the in my hands from the Parawing, and like time those and try to do like a flat water pop up if you've got enough size and volume and length and efficiency for that. So different. And then at the whole other extreme, you can be sunk all the way up to your shoulders, and it's, you know, whatever you said, did you say a 3 something, like go up to an upper 4 something and just get ripped out of the water. So you can kind of do that whole range of board sizes with a single skin, depending on how much you size up or down, how much crazy power you want to get up. Now, if you're using that to rocket upwind, one use case, if you're just going to put it away, a lot more flexibility. For the double skin, unlike this, I guess after the first year of putting out the single skin, in the second generation, I'm like, okay, now I'm going to test every different board size. I haven't done that work yet with the double skin, so I for sure don't have the answer. On a 90 liter efficient board size, that's still my go-to. It's a completely different water start experience in that I'm riding it bigger, so it's kind of more consistently there for me. I've got a lot more stability when I get on my board, and by the time I'm even getting up on my feet, I'm like already climbing up to foil, like without having really done anything. So it's just an easier experience by virtue of I'm riding a much bigger size now. So there's just a lot more going on, like just immediately available to me. One of the riders yesterday, a completely different rider yesterday, she was riding it and she's like, "Oh, I got on foil by accident." She's like, "I was just standing up to like get oriented, you know, get ready for whatever the process she was used to on a single skin of getting up." And she's like, "Oop, I was already up on foil." Like, I wasn't planning that. So it can be that different and easy. But if that same sort of effectiveness translates into a smaller and less efficient board, I don't know yet. It'd be sweet if it does.
Yeah. So from what I'm understanding is, you know, what happens now is that we want to be on the smallest size that we can be to get up on foil, because the hardest part is to get up on foil, right? So then once you're up on foil, you want that Parawing to be as small as possible because you want to be able to hold down the power, right? And it's, you know, as efficient as they are or whatever. So you want to make sure that you're not overpowered, or then you can hook in. So typically the start is always where you're like, can I get started? So you don't want to take a bigger Parawing, because then when you're up on foil, then you're all of a sudden way overpowered. So what it sounds like is that you can take that bigger size Parawing to get up on foil easy, and then once you're up on foil, it's easy to handle.
Yes, definitely on a 90 liter board.
Yeah.
To the smaller board, less efficient board, a board that needs more kind of raw low end grunt to pull out of the water. I feel like single skins have more of that. You know, they more that amount of grunt that we need to manage. You know, once you're up on foil, so you're like, oh, I don't want to choose too big a size. Working against you there probably works in our favor, getting up and going, ripping us off the water.
Yeah.
double skin is just so smooth and so forward flying. It doesn't have that same downwind. If you sheet in the double skin, it sort of has this range of sheeting and power delivery, effective power delivery for sure. If I'm really cooking along, I have a lot of apparent wind. I'm like bearing off the wind. You can full be like Ricky Racer and just sheet in and grind and do that whole like racing style technique. But that's up and riding from a static point, sheet in and go run. Like if you sheet in past a certain point and it drops back in the window, like a foil kite, you get less power instead of more. It just goes to stall. It's actually really effective for bringing it down and deploying the thing. It just, you can drop it and kill it. Where the single skin, again, more parachute like. It's still kind of trapping some wind. It's kind of still some pull there.
That makes sense.
That's just different nature of ground.
So after we've figured out this new Takeoff that I'm sure will just be like butter, we'll get it first try. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to crash, and then we're going to have to relaunch. So you want to talk us through like what that experience is like with the double skin, how it is once it gets wet in the water and reinflating it and getting to take off again?
Yeah, the whole back being open. Obviously, if you pick it up by the leading edge, the water just runs right out. When it's in the water, a single skin, to really describe the double skin, like what's a single skin experience like? You don't just pick it up out of the water. It's a big bag of water as well, right? But if you kind of get up to your front lines and kind of scoop it up from the leading edge, you kind of let that water run out. The double skin is the same thing, just a little bit slower. Like it's that same technique, it's the same cause and effect, but just takes a little more time.
And those cells reinflate pretty consistently, like even when they're wet.
Yeah. There's the size of them, the openness of them. Like it's a single skin. There's nothing to fill. It's just an immediate open. But this is like slower, and it wants to climb to that. I think more so than the air cells filling, it's maybe that a single skin is already happy at the low angle of attack. Like as soon as you expose that thing to the wind, it's like, Funk, I'm there. Mm-hmm. Where this more wants to climb to here and be like, Funk, here I am. It's not really creating lift when it's at a stalled angle of attack. That makes sense?
Yeah. Totally makes sense. So you want to talk about the handling differences? How does this feel in comparison to, let's say, the Kanaha, as far as how you, because probably, that's your single skin that's most comparable from a performance standpoint. How does it feel in how it controls in the wind window, in jibes and tacks and things like that?
Amazing question. Yeah, thank you for that. I feel like if there's
so many good questions. I should be getting paid
one
for
at a time. One at a time.
One at a time.
yeah, good to those long lessons. If there's the two things, like this is the first one you brought up, or somehow organically came up, the sizing, like, is a huge thing, like go way bigger than you think. Super important takeaway. The other thing is its handling. In that, I sort of spoke a bit to the different window positions of a single skin versus double skin, depending on how you sheet them. Mm-hmm. So in brief, like the single skin is, in the absence of any piloting, sheeted out, say, it's moved back. And there are pros and cons to that. But one pro is in a transition. Like if you do nothing on a single skin, obviously, as you said, Dylan, different single skins have variations in performance. So this is an overgeneralization in comparison to a double skin, say. They're inclined to move back in the window. So if you're going to transition, if you're going to turn toward your wing, turn off the wind, it's going to drift faster. So it's not going to really require piloting. It autopilots in that regard. The nature of the double skin flying further forward in the window, like do nothing on a double skin. Like if you're if you're not handling it in an ideal way, a double skin, you're probably over piloting it. Like letting it just do its thing, hands off, it's happy to fly. Where a single skin, in comparison, it wants some trim, it wants some piloting. This is like, let me do my thing. So you're letting it do its thing. It's flying super far forward in the window. If you just crank straight into a turn, you're going to completely outrun it immediately. Even, let's say, we'll circle back to transitions, even just flying it up on the beach, throwing it out of its bag. You're on the beach, your buddy's got one, you're like, oh, what is that thing? Let me fly it. throw it up. You throw it up to 12 o'clock, it'll just hang there. You bring it down to its side, it's gonna like start not being stable and happy over there. Like, what's that about? It's here it's kind of hanging. Gravity's doing part of the work. Bring it over here, it's flying forward. It's not happy and stable there. Like, oh, my single skin sits there perfectly happy. Yeah, because it's not here. It's sitting back here somewhere.
Yeah.
So on a double skin, you give just a little pinky on the bar, and you're gonna pilot it back there. But it desires that piloting. Now, certainly, there's plenty of ways to induce some drag in your wing without that piloting and make it always park back there. But that wasn't my choice for this thing, because once I'm up on foiling and I've got apparent wind, I want that bugger to fly as far forward as possible. That's my upwind angle. That's my D power. So just like maybe, an analogy might be from the single skins to the double skins and that's wrong. From the first generation to the second generation, with the yoke, I took some of the piloting out of it. And some people were all like, oh, I like that. Like in super light wind, I want to be able to go to that low angle attack, even though it leans toward instability at the upper end. If you sheet out, then you need to sheet in. So there's like pros and cons. With this one, I'm like, no. I'm going to give all the piloting control back to us.
I was just going to say, is that the 13-inch bar then that you're using on it?
Don't know it in inches and don't know if I'm head. It's
like
it's
the
not
V1 bar.
Yeah, it's not as long as the V1. It's not as short as the V2. It's somewhere in between the two.
Oh, sounds like the Three Bears, baby. We got it just right. Oh, I'm excited about this. Look, I love the piloting aspect, right? I think that's really cool. I think that playing with all these different Parawings, you get to feel the difference in longer bars, wings that are more stable, less stable, more reactive. It'll be interesting to fly a double skin on short lines like this.
Yeah. So I guess just to finish then on that handling, I got hung up on like even just flying it in a parking lot. But so to finish on the transition thing, you're cruising along, and when you've got apparent wind, the thing is just crazy stable and doing everything you want. If you're then going to go into a transition, you will want to sheet in a bit and drop it back in the window while you're still trucking along, while you've got all your line tension. You bring it back, and then you can crank into it and turn it from deeper into window. But that understanding that, oh, it's way up here. So yeah. And I think the first time you crank off the wind and the wing doesn't keep up with you, it gives you that feedback of like, oh, okay, something different's going on here. And so just being observant of that and making the handling adjustments.
Well, because it's got those airfoils, it's always accelerating forward, right? Yeah. Like it wants to be accelerating forward. So if you're not, you can easily outrun it, because it's essentially there's a lag time between the wind going in and going out. It's still accelerating, right? It's not dumping as much power, so it's faster.
So you just got to set your turn a little bit before you do it. You got to be more intentional with like, okay, I'm coming up for a turn, set yourself up better, which I think, in the early days with the single skins, you kind of have to do that too when you're really learning the nuance of it, right? Like you really got to be intentional of like dropping it down in the window. So it's probably kind of just an exaggerated version of that in some ways.
That's a good point. If you came from a single skin, I guess I certainly came to the single skins from an inflatable wing, right? An inflatable wing, you're just going to drag it through the turn, whether or not it's creating lift or not. You hold the thing up. Now we've got something on lines. We're having a balancing act with its flight character. So yeah, it might be a similar experience from inflatable to single to double.
How does it handle like looping and stuff too? Is it able to kind of like, because the single skins, you rotate that bar down and you're going to get a pretty fast loop out of it. Is this moving a little slower in those kind of movements? Especially, we're going to be on a bigger wing, it sounds like too. So
it's pretty loop friendly. Yeah, no, I haven't really like side by side and analyzed that for specifically.
I can't wait to fly this thing. I'm so excited. When do you get here?
I'll be out there. Yeah, which I don't know when.
Knowing Dylan, this podcast is going to go live before you land in Hood River in the garden.
It's going out. It's going out today.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So everybody's going to be lined up in the parking lot. So
this was an emergency podcast.
You're going to be at Arlington on Sunday. We'll clear out the hatch lot.
Yeah.
So everybody in Arlington.
No, yeah, I'm super stoked. When I saw it, I was like, that's super cool, and I wonder who's going to gravitate towards it. It might not be for everybody, but now that we're becoming better parawingers and people are seeing the light and people have had time on different parawings, I think people see a use case for cranking up wind. And for me, I just have the skills that I don't care how big the canopy is. I don't care how long it takes me to pack it away, right? That's something that some people are really nitpicking on. They're like, oh, but it's got a lot more material. Oh, it's got to be bigger, so it takes longer to pack. I mean, it's not.
Or the bar size or whatever.
Yeah, like it's not really like these are little things that people want to nitpick on, but it really doesn't matter if the sale's better performing. It doesn't matter. Like I will take extra layers of material. I will take longer lines. I will take it for performance.
Totally. It's a very strong number one, right? Performance of the sale is number one. All those other things, like they're very, very secondary to what it's going to give you, because as long as it's sailing well, you're going to get the experience you want. I mean, you've kind of done it, Greg, right? You've developed all the way from basically a parachute that gets you up with the Maliko, right? All the way up to this kind of, well-formed double skin wing that's going to give you a strong airfoil and allow you a lot of top end and a lot of performance. And I think it's really about, are you going to have, it's all compromises, right? You got to compromise somewhere to get more performance, right? If you're going to get more low end, it's going to compromise on the high end. If you want whatever, you got to have more size or line length or whatever. And I think, as people come to kind of define like what they want to do in the water, it's about finding the right parawing for you, right? And this sounds incredibly interesting for the stuff, that I like to do, which is I love sailing. It's amazing, and having something that feels softer in your hand and more performance oriented and gives you more range. And I mean, I'm expecting the feels are obviously different from the way you're describing it. And I think that's something that's going to be really intriguing for a lot of the folks who are pushing the sport forward. And, we don't even know where this is going, right? Like everybody's discovering some new piece of the sport or some new use for a parawing every day in their riding. And I think this is just going to kind of keep layering onto that.
Yeah, thank you for all of that. And I'll respond to awesome points you both made there. One, what you just said, like you've got to pick and choose. I think that is an important point. It's when people ask me, like, oh, I want this amazing low end, I want this amazing high end, I want this like crazy takeoff and this crazy upwind, like understanding like some performance attributes are at opposite ends of the range. Like if you want this, you don't get that. So there are situations where you need to choose. Like, well, what's more important to me? And maybe I don't want the best of this or the best of, like maybe I need something in between. So long as that in between doesn't do like maybe it doesn't do either well. So it's like there's really understanding the product, how it works, what your riding priorities are is a huge point. Dylan, to your point of differences in pack size and this and that, like you overcome like bar length and all that stuff. I was going to jump in there and say this might challenge that, the Paia, the double skin of this, because it's different. It like when I go back to a single skin now, I'm like, oh man, this is so crazy sweet for what it does. That immediate deploy, if that's a good thing. Like certainly if I'm kicking out of a wave and I just want the thing to open immediately up, it does it crazy good. The grunt to get up on foil, like again, I didn't try it on small boards, but like that's a thing. But there's a bookend description, like the grunt to rip me off the water versus I got to deal with that grunt once I'm up. Like which do you want? But really more than anything is the pack size of this. Before I say that, I'll say like the retract to bring it in. One thing I think would be natural to look at it and be like, oh man, it's going to be a drag getting the air out of that thing. That's not the case. My thinking on that already with a single skin, when we bring it in, we've kind of scooped a lot of air. We've got to manage that already. This isn't, in my experience, more. It's kind of the same experience and the same technique. But just like getting it off the water takes a little more time. This takes a little more time just because there's more canopy. There's more stuff. I'm not really squeezing the air out of it. The air kind of comes out of it as fast as I'm going to get the air out of a single skin anyway. But like, I don't know, it's longer to wad up, if you will, if you're going to belt it. And maybe even more so, part of that is it's just more material. Like you're just wadding up.
It's
more
like
stuff.
double the material.
So that double the material in two areas. One being popping it into a belt. It's a lot more to put in a belt. Single skin, huge win on that. Like if that's what you're doing, if that's how you're riding, like single skin is such a win. where going upwind the double skin is such a win. Like pick or choose. The other thing what I was going to say is what the belt size. Oh, like when I'm into water, like I crash all the time. You know, put that thing away. Up, bump game isn't there. I'm down. Or more often in my case, like I'm prototyping, I'm carrying like multiple wings with me at different times. I'm switching things out and doing stuff. When I've got a double skin,
The belt.
exactly. Water will get more inside the wing and inside the cells if it's in your belt and the belt is underwater. Like you come up and this thing's heavy, full of water. It doesn't drain out as quick as a single skin. So there's another plus for a single skin. Like anyway, just differences.
Well, and what you're talking about, I mean, to me, what I'm hearing, and obviously, like I'm going to get my hands on one hopefully soon and be able to try it. But like the other day, you know, I started at the event site and I kind of went out to go work on some, you know, tacks and whatever, and started cruising upwind because the wind kind of kicked up, and I ended up sailing all the way up to Tunnel 4. Got to Tunnel 4, packed down, and then I downwinded all the way back to the event site. So, you know, I think if we can sail upwind with less effort, to Dylan's point, who gives a shit about the pack down if I only have to pack it down one time in an hour and a half session, right? If I'm going to go sail 5 miles upwind or 7 miles upwind and then downwind, which kind of like sounds overwhelming. I mean, here in the gorge, it's a little different, right? Because we've got current going in the opposite direction. So sailing upwind is like a little bit more effective. But, you know, the first thing we did when we looked at a Parawing, we were like, man, shuttling is a pain in the ass with downwinding. Wouldn't it be great to be able to sail upwind and then downwind? And then we all start kind of trying it with the V1s, right? And the V1 BRM, the Maliko. Well, it's tough. You know, it's tough. The sail angle's not there. As it's progressed, it's getting better and better. And if this thing at the top end, A, I've got all this range, B, I've got all this speed, and it's easy to handle. It's not putting a lot of pressure on me, so my body's not getting worked in the sail upwind, and all I got to do is deal with this kind of clunky pack down. So sure, maybe I'm not going to want to use it for a tight surf session where I'm like pulling in and out and wanting to pack it away because it's bigger and harder to deal with. But I have no problem taking, you know, 60 seconds to nicely pack this thing away and enjoy a 30-minute downwind. I mean, that sounds absolutely incredible. And if this opens up that in a more meaningful way, I think you're onto something that's going to really change the sport.
Yeah. Great points. And it does. Like for that use, forget about it. Yeah, this is all you're going to touch. And it,
God, this is becoming a very expensive summer, Greg.
Yeah,
it's true.
I was making a comparison to a single skin, but if the comparison is like I'm going to upwind with my inflatable wing, stop, pack the thing down, put it in a big old backpack, paddle, like this is like crazy compact and easy in comparison to that. So
yeah, for sure. I mean, yeah, for me it's because I do these long downwinders. I'm doing a couple miles. I'm not just grabbing a wave. So for me, I don't care. I mean, it could take me 10 minutes to pack it up. Like, I got to find my way. And I'm just packing it up as I go. I mean, it's part of the adventure, right? Not that it's going to take 10 minutes, but
Dylan, you're very slow. So maybe it will.
Watch my last video. It's like burritoed up into my belt and away I go.
Oh God, we're going to have all new packing techniques for this thing though. Man, we were just getting it figured out with those single skin. Now I'm going to have a whole new, now it's not going to be a burrito. It's going to be a sushi roll, or
I think you just watch my video. I think it applies the same. Yeah.
Only if you use that side stash, north belt.
All right. No, but this is it's super fun, and thanks for putting out something new again and challenging us. Thanks for jumping on the podcast so quickly. I know I just emailed you, sent you a link, be on or be out, and we were gonna do it without you, but we wouldn't have. He was already planning brunch, so we'll let Walt go, and yeah, you're an awesome guest to have. It's always super fun to chat, and the listeners love to hear it, from you. And all these questions that everyone's asking and stuff. So I think we touched on a lot of it, and more so people just need to fly it.
Yeah, Greg, thanks for being here. And again, thanks for continuing to push this sport forward. I mean, what a radical journey in Parawing we've had in the last 12 months here. And this is just another layer of kind of pushing it further into the future. So excited to see how this thing looks.
Appreciate that. Super kind words. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks, guys.